From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Keith Allen. It is Friday, March the 31st, 2017, and the Northeast is bracing for a April Fool's snowstorm. Projected snowfall for Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Boston about 100 miles south. As the way that I'm seeing this weather map, the city is bracing for as much as, check this out, according to the National Weather Service, 16 inches of snow from Sunday into Monday, with some suburbs along the North Shore expecting up to 19 inches, creating a potentially dangerous morning commute. So the snow will be heavy and wet, winds high, so power outages and downed trees are a concern, according to CNN meteorologist Julie Martin. It is likely schools will be canceled again, and as such, and one of the oddities about the storm, and it just become commonplace, is if it hugs the coast, it's more rain. If it goes outward, the storm is further away from the coast, it actually creates more snow. So Pennsylvania could be in the wake of this, could be some sleet and some snow for the New York area, New Jersey. But this thing seems to be going more towards the upper northeast corridor, and that's a lot of snow. So, just when you thought you were out of it, nope, you got just at least one more. And spring has certainly sprung here in Florida and Tampa, where I'm doing the program. We got a little rain today, which we needed to kind of blow some of that pollen off. And, it's been nice overall. And so far, knock on wood, my allergies this year, for whatever reason, are just not a bother. Usually the oak trees do me in. Flonase was like the only thing, so maybe my body just knocked it out with some good dose. But that was the only thing, no kidding. Out of all the allergy medications that I have taken, Allegra and all those things, and it was a broadcaster, losing your voice, and it's not good, but try it. If you haven't tried it, and you can, check with your doctor, obviously, before using it. But you can buy it over the counter, and it's very, very effective. Before you actually had to have a prescription for it. What a mess in Atlanta. Did you hear about this story yesterday? Well, it's still a major problem in Atlanta. A large portion of Interstate 85, familiar with the Atlanta area, a massive fire burned yesterday and collapsed a large portion of 85. So you're talking about a lot of folks being inconvenienced. As a matter of fact, Georgia's transportation officials are saying that the highway carries 250,000 cars a day. And they say portions rerouting can be safely reopened to traffic in either direction after the collapse. But it's a problem because they've had to reroute things, and it's a mess. They've encouraged a lot of the commuters to consider using the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit, which actually does a pretty good job. If you've ever taken the transit, the MARTA system, not too bad, considering local transportation there sometimes. Not in Atlanta. Maybe in your area it's bad, and I say sometimes, depending. But they're on time. So it's going to be tough over the next 4 to 6 weeks, Reed said. So it's a problem, and it really just it was a huge burn. And exactly what the items that fell out of a truck were that burned it and caused it so hot to collapse the bridge, who knows? But, man, huge plumes of smoke and just a disaster for motorists in the area. And Atlanta, Need I say any more? Going through Atlanta, it's tough enough with rush hour traffic. Could you imagine with this? No wonder they're pushing the transit system there, and to hop on. To me, that's the ticket, baby. If you can take public transit in most major cities, like New York, it's kind of a no-brainer. But Boston, it works out great. Washington, D.C., I used to live in Alexandria, Virginia, before I located here to Tampa. And I used to get myself my Dunkin' Donuts coffee off the Braddock Road exit, or it wasn't the subway station. Gosh, it's been since 2001. Isn't that ridiculous? But I would take that all the way to White Flint, Maryland. And I used to enjoy it because I did not have to fight the Beltway. I didn't have to worry about stop and go. And I just hate it. I know, I'm a wuss. What can I say? I don't like it. Some of you road warriors, some of you really like it. But, I like that you like to be on the road because now you can listen to the entire show if you have time on your hands. Because it's usually, if you can't turn up the radio at the workplace and you don't want to be too controversial or anything like that, certainly if I say something that may not be necessarily, quote unquote, politically correct. Okay, Donald Trump. He says this whole Russia thing, he's tweeting again. I know it just drives people absolutely crazy, but he says Mike Flynn should ask for immunity and that this is a witch hunt excuse for a big election loss by media and Dems of historic proportions. Do you believe in Donald Trump? Do you believe in what he's saying? Is there any validity to it? Let the discussion begin. At Facebook, Facebook can be accessed a couple ways. You can simply just type in "for the people," and you'll come up and you'll be able to put your statement in there, whatever you want to do, your comment. Or you can go to forthepeopleshow.com and just click on the Facebook tab right on the front page, and you can access it there, and you can comment, start a thread there. But do you think that Donald Trump, what are you saying about immunity for Mike Flynn? Do you think that's fair? Do you think he's right on about the media and Dems? My personal opinion, big media, they had it all wrong, and they definitely weren't rooting for Donald Trump, and they most certainly are not rooting for him right now. All this investigation, all this crap, and I think Trump was onto something more, talking about how the investigation should be more towards those that were bugging or whatever way or with intelligence on all the Trump folks. Their attention be focused on that because that was illegal behavior. And, of course, right now they're just trying to find anything and everything that would just show that Donald Trump is ineligible to be in the White House, which it ain't going to happen. Good luck with that. If anybody should be in prison, it should be Hillary Clinton. And how much involvement did Obama have with putting his State Department up with whether you call it wiretapping or under surveillance or whatever, but there was a lot of information that was simply leaked out from you heard yesterday. And so this is costing a lot of money, and yes, we're paying for it. But I'll tell you, I think there's fatigue right now, fatigue with a lot of Americans right now when it comes to the great high with the great win for, of course, those that were just excited that Donald Trump actually made it in, and now supposedly a lot of voters, this is the pundits on the mainstream media, that there's such a major disappointment now because health care didn't get in, and now they just don't have any hopes that real change and all the political promises that Trump made. Now he's, it's just all going to fail and his own party's going to clash with him and nothing's going to get done. And the left would love that, nothing more. And so when Trump says, work with me or the Dems are going to be able to regain seats and literally their agenda will prevail. And that's something, some say don't. Sean Hannity saying don't blame fully the Freedom Caucus for this whole thing because there was other members that were outside of the Freedom Caucus, and maybe that's true, but there's great influence. And the big part of that was the Freedom Caucus. They had the votes, and they could have made the difference there pretty darn close, if not persuaded. And there's power in that if they were on board. But like Trump says, I don't think that this thing is going to be coming up anytime soon until it's it's a humdinger, as they say in the South. Other than that, but people are, I think they're just, let's move on. What's sad about it, and I reiterate this, and I feel your pain, for those that have to pay the higher premiums until further notice, because that's basically it, and who gets the shaft? The American people. And that's the sad thing about it, because it's politicking. And if one thing Washington is so great at, it's politics. And that's why I believe that so many people are turned off to begin with when it comes to politics. And I am amazed. And I think maybe it's not a bad thing, but a lot of millennials and non-millennials are so much more interested now in politics, and maybe you give it to Donald Trump, and yes, maybe some of these millennials don't necessarily like Donald Trump, but wait. I've talked to a lot of millennials that actually like Donald Trump, and the one thing they like about him is what he's going to do for the economy and what he's already done for the economy and the tax breaks they're waiting for. So that's going to be the big conversation. Yes. Will Congress, will they approve? Will they approve his next spending bill? And will they be able to actually keep the government open? I don't think anybody at this point wants the government shut down. I just can't imagine that being the case. Well, who says that good things can't happen to those that actually end up in the pokey? Or even greater than the pokey, they end up eventually in some kind of prison. How about a federal prison? Tim Allen, he's recalling that a time in prison, how it actually changed his life. You know somebody that's been in prison? Have you been in prison? Home Improvement star Tim Allen says he came a long way since his arrest. And I didn't even know this until it's popped up in the news, but I thought this was worthwhile. This happened in 1978, and of all things, drug trafficking. And the resulting 2 years he spent in federal prison. Tim Allen, he spoke about his time behind bars, telling Closer Weekly, that's where this actually came from. He says, it put me in a position of great humility, and I was able to make amends to friends and family and refocus my life on setting and achieving goals. And he says now, after 20 years of sobriety, he's 63 years old, the last man standing actor I'm talking about. That's right, Tim Allen. He told Closer today that he's much more present. He says, I'm not the same guy I was, and for the first time I was married when I was hiding and doing what people who drink too much do. I was not connecting. Allen married his first wife, Lauren Debley, in 1984, then had a daughter, Catherine, for 5 years later. And then the couple split in 1999, and then in 2006, Allen wed Jane Haddock and had his daughter, Elizabeth. And interesting about his kids, he says his daughters don't think that he's very funny. The older one will roll her eyes, and the younger one just stares at me. I think she's done with me. But I still try to play jokes and make them laugh. After all, he's been through, along with his unprecedented success. Allen says that he feels 68% joyous, aiming at 70%. He added, I'm also extremely grateful for who I am today. Well, it just goes to show you, folks, that the past does not have to equal the present. You can have a turnaround and make something of yourself. But I do believe a big portion of that, and I've seen this in so many